Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of Haunt Behind the Scare. In today's episode, we are going to be going to Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse. We thought this was pretty fitting for a finale, considering this is one of our favorite haunts. We've been very open about that on the channel.
Yes.
They have won Haunt of the Year, I think, a couple times now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've been very excited to go into this place, and we also feel very gracious just because no one's really been able to film in there that I know of before, and so getting to film this and Nightmare Cleveland, the owner, Vaughn, letting us come and do this and interview him and just being absolutely awesome the whole time, so big shout out there. But, yeah, this place is just the most atmospheric haunt we've ever been to. If you haven't heard of it or been to it, I think this video will absolutely make you want to go.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We'll just let you get right on into the video. We'll see you at the end for a little recap, but enjoy this episode of Haunt
Behind
the
Scare.
Here at Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse, the final haunt of the series that we're filming. What's one of the really cool things about it is just how different from a haunted house it feels. I'm sure we said this in the intro, but it does feel more of like a haunted experience. We were talking about that with the owner there, which you'll see. But I mean, like even this, so this is the queue line, which is basically a cattle pen. But even like the theming of the truck backed up, and that's where the cows would enter. In this instance, you are the cow. And then you would walk through here, and this is where the queue line is. It's interesting because the queue line is built before they went to a time ticketing system. So do know that it's a time ticketing system. They do not sell tickets at the gate. So if you come here expecting just to be able to buy a ticket and walk in, you're probably going to be disappointed. And we love the signs. You have the VIP sign, and then you have the peasant sign. But yeah, it's cool that even that, even the queue is themed to that, and you can just see the building looming off in the distance there. But yeah, typically there would be, I probably have a picture of it, but the sign that would say Carver Meats up there, very similar to what's on the storage container there. But you're held there, and then you have to walk this whole path going into it, and it just has such a cool ambiance of just walking to this building. At night, it is just so creepy. And there's just like a little flickering light that would be over the thing.
Hey, my name is Vaughn LeCan, owner of Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse and Nightmare Cleveland. This is my very first haunt that I built. This is what got me started in the industry. I acquired the property back in 2015, and it took me a couple years to get the building structurally sound in order to open it as a haunted house. It was abandoned for about 26 years. It was built in 1939. It was a real operating slaughterhouse. It serviced Cleveland, Akron, North Columbus, and right over here, not even a mile and a half away, is Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse, or excuse me, Chippewa Lake Amusement Park. That was operating through the 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So they produced all their hamburger meat and hot dogs and everything that they needed for the amusement park right here. So very convenient, close by. So again, it was an operating slaughterhouse till about 1986, I was told, and it went dormant, and it just pretty much was let go, and she was an abandoned property for quite a while. It was just kind of a property for kids to hang out in, and she was deteriorating pretty quick. So I found her in 2014. I've been looking for years for a property, and bought it in 2015. So this is where it all started.
All right. And this is the first big room, which used to be where the actual counter was from this place was an actual slaughterhouse, and they've kind of made it look like this diner. But again, very similar to the Nightmare Cleveland haunt, where just impeccable details. Like, again, this is behind you. You would never turn to look, but there's this... I didn't even notice the first time we did the walkthrough with Vaughn.
Wow.
was it an old jukebox, just an old like radio type of thing, and even like a place for them to put their trays and stuff like that when they're done eating. They even have the business hours on this open door. Like, just the amount that they go to for the details. It's just, I don't know, to me it's just so mind-boggling. Even to like the vintage Coca-Cola machine, the vintage Coca-Cola cooler. And then this is something we've never noticed before either, and I guess it's been here, I think, since pretty much forever, since it's been open, is like these are all handmade signs. The little mascots they have are so cute, and you're gonna see this guy a few times throughout the haunt, and we're gonna point it out each time, but you know, factory employees only past this point, and this is when you actually get into kind of like the heart of the haunt.
Here we are in the first room. This is where Grandpa Carver and Grandma Carver pretty much start to run the haunted house. This was originally the main counter for when you come in to purchase meats. So try to kind of stick with the same theme of it being the original slaughterhouse. So basically, I turned it in more of a diner / meat counter here. A lot of the things you see in here were actually purchased. Not a lot of stuff was left behind. I wish it was. The previous owner pretty much had a construction company, just brought junk into the building, but there wasn't a lot of slaughterhouse meat processing equipment left behind. Maybe a couple of pieces, the freezer and a couple of ovens and stuff, but that's about it. So I just kind of went with the idea of the meat processing facility. Came up with the name Carver Meats. Came up with the 1948. Came up with a little story. Try to set the parameters here for the whole theme of the haunt, and just went with it. I know I always say the tough thing about building a haunted house is you try to stick with one theme. It's kind of hard to have 29 butchers running around and make this cool.
Right.
So what do? I have a couple, and then you start the inbred family. Go with the story from there. So include the workers, and then we have the outside, which we'll go through in a little bit. That's more of what we just call the outside people that kind of sort of surround the facility and keep an eye on the carvers. So, yep. So this is the start of the haunt right here, and we'll go through and see some more rooms.
Was there something particular that inspired the name Carver?
Just playing the name.
The name.
And then just instead of having the CAR, I just went with the KR,
Gotcha.
just to kind of change it up a little bit. And I think it's so funny. I'd tell this real quick story. I was at a bank one time trying to get loans here and there, and mentioned that I had the haunt and Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse, and all of a sudden someone in the booth next stands up, "Oh, you own Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse?" And my family knew the Carvers. We lived down in that area, and I thought, now the story's made it big, and they never really existed, and then you have someone that says they knew them. So gotta love that part. That was good.
Oh, and right around the corner there's actually another one of this adorable little cow guy. Now we're into the freezer, which he was telling us, like, a lot of these haunts like these props, like I think he said this one was over $1,000 alone. Do you remember the name of the company?
Dark Ride.
Dark Ride, yeah. A lot of their props are from them. And something you'll notice about this haunt is there's not really any animatronics. They keep everything realistic. Of course, there's props. There has to be. But they're some of the most realistic props. Like, if you just look, like, the ice crystals that are built up on it, like, it looks so phenomenally realistic. It's freaky. Except there is an air conditioner that usually would make this room cold as well. And then what's really cool is from the freezer, then you go over to the rot room. So I don't know if did he say if the idea was like a freezer that maybe shut off or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
You have all the like meat that's a little more pristine and frozen, and then, well, the meat over here is maybe not so pristine, as you can see, and there's a smell to this room.
Yes.
There is a smell. They have, and then we mentioned this in Nightmare Cleveland one as well, they have just the freakiest mannequins. Like, look at this thing, and you have no idea which one's real, which one's not. There are so many throughout this place. Something I like to do as well is they kind of like to add little stories for you to make for some of the props, like this guy who has his eye being like picked out by, I don't know what that is. They have this sign behind that says "Father is watching." He was kind of talking about, the guy who has his eyeball poked out. But just like, I don't know, how realistic everything looks in this place. And again, with like the logo and whatnot. And one of the real crazy things is most of these rooms are completely empty. You might see this stuff and things, oh, they've just repurposed all this. Like, no, they brought probably over 90% of the stuff into this place and added it. They just made it blend with the environment so much. Like, you even look, just like every single wall in the place is just covered in grime. And, you know, that's something that wasn't here. Like, they did that. It's purposeful grime. Got a fun little sign saying home is where your heart is, because now we're in the kitchen scene. In blood, welcome to the family. But yeah, just some really gross kitchen stuff. Because the Carvers, well, they have a certain taste. Like, this is particularly gross detail. Yeah, I mean, like, ew. Just this, like, guy's head. And, yeah, there's, like, the forks and stuff just shoved in there. It's really gross. And some of it has to be dusted and stuff as well. Because, again, this is in the middle of summer right now. So it's not like they're open right now. Well, it's crazy. The same thing we said with Nightmare Cleveland is just how good these haunts look with lights on. It's kind of wild. This is one of my personal favorite scenes. This is, what exactly is the name of the room?
I believe it's like the nursery.
Yeah, the breeding room. And there's just all of these like little children skeletons in these beds. So this is where they inbreed and make more Carver family. There's why they watch, I guess they hang out and watch some TV before they breed. She is our salvation, and there's a bunch of candles, so like a crib. And again, I like that they kind of let you and your mind kind of figure out what might be going on, like story-wise. But again, like every room, just detail everywhere. You notice something new every time you come here. And the actor that's in here is super creepy. She's like, what, usually dressed in like all black, almost like a widow or something.
Yeah, yeah. And she doesn't say anything.
Nope.
Or if she does, it's very, very quiet. Because she did say something to me once, and I don't recall what it was, but it was super quiet and it was hard to hear.
Yeah.
So it's really creepy.
But if
really
you have the touch pass, a lot of times she'll like hold your hand, one of you, and like kind of walk you through here and stuff. She is less of jump scare and more of just her presence.
Yeah.
And you get a good mix of that here. A lot of good, like a mixture of like jump scares and just this
Foreboding?
foreboding, yeah, presence, I guess. I don't know. And then this one, my heart belongs to daddy. Well, okay.
So here's a room that gives you an idea on the magnitude of the size of the room. As I mentioned, building this place when I first found it, wanted to keep it as natural as possible, but sometimes the downside is the massive size of the room can affect the crowd, you know, a group coming in, maybe seeing a group in the scare, right, and you kind of miss that. But we try to do the best we can to space them out. That doesn't always work, but you'll see that every room that whatever pictures you take and show, that every room in this building has been completely gutted, except for the walls, which all real tile and everything because it was a meat processing facility. But so everything that you see back in this room has been placed back in here and built. So only a couple rooms where you'll see maybe a few items that were there from day one when I bought the place. But just shows you how much work goes into these. I just couldn't see breaking these big rooms up. They're just, I mean, some things you're not catching on camera right now. They're just us walking through here and talking about the detail. That just a ton of detail in here, and you don't see all that, but it's what you have to make it look as real as possible. So
We're in the lab currently, which Vaughn also talked about, but something we thought was fun was they have these chalkboards, which used to be windows, he said, right?
Yes.
But they put chalkboards and they just basically looked up things online, things to put on the board. Like this one has a bunch of anatomy and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that blade moves, right?
I think
I think so, yeah. And then this one just has like equations on it. Just again, they could have left a blank or something like that, but just to put something on there. So if you do look over there, there's stuff there. And then what's cool is this, a lot of foreshadowing in this haunt as well. These toxic barrels are kind of part of the story, which you'll hear about later in the plane scene that Vaughn will talk about. But a really good scare here where this can bang into that and just makes the loudest noise ever. And just stuff even like this. Like this is something that Vaughn had actually like custom built by his welder friend that welds a lot of stuff for this. So like this was actually just this like box was made just for this.
all right, so we're in a room here. This is the boiler room for the building. This is the original boiler for the building when it was operation. I don't have any customers in here right now. It's just a set piece that you walk by, but it's lit up and you kind of see it. It's my intentions to include it into the route that you take through the haunt someday. But right now I haven't decided how. There's a couple freezers over here to the right that are also unused that I'll try to find a way to route people in and then back into the normal route. But you walk through a property when as someone that's trying to get into the business, and you see stuff like this. I mean, this can't be duplicated. You got some great artists out there that can do some wonderful work, but this is all natural. This is all natural. She's rusting out. I mean, this is as real as it gets because it's real. But this is what we look for when we look for a property. This is, lottery ticket as far as I'm concerned if you're trying to find the right property. So I have a couple rooms like this. Like, again, I have an original blood pit in the back where they, used to cut the cows and drain them out. So, we try to capitalize on that look. But you get scenes like this, you can't duplicate it.
What says danger, don't get a jolt, and there's this fun animation. Even above there it says danger, high voltage, because they have props like that. And there's also a bunch of cracker props, because if you look over here, this is where I think where the crackers are behind that, because there's a bunch of just exposed wires and stuff like that. And even like this, you look at it and you're like, who knows if this was there before or if they put this on the wall? Because again, everything fits in so well. This is an extremely simple scene. It's literally just a hallway, but it's usually a red light, I think.
It's a colored light of some sort, yeah.
And it changes up. Sometimes there's a person you see all the way at the end. They may or may not be a mannequin. Sometimes you'll get halfway down and all of a sudden you'll be being followed by someone. And that's something that happens a lot at this haunt. People will just kind of appear. And they might just be stalking you and you don't know where they came from. And it just makes it so freaky. So just another example of how freaky the mannequins are. You can just see them there when you walk into this room. Even now, I know there's no actors in here, but I'm like, God, which one's real? And they change it up, so you never know which one's going to be the real one. They add mannequins and take them away, it seems. But we also like how you can actually see other parts of the haunt because it's all kind of interconnected. Now, you really don't notice this when you're walking through because, you're getting scared. And again, this is another place I highly recommend doing the touch pass. I think the touch pass adds something really, truly special. This place is already very special, but when you do the touch pass, it's just, I don't know, it adds something because this haunt looks and feels so brutal, and just that extra brutality of being able to get touched just really adds something. I may or may not have had my head shoved in this many times to look at the pig.
So back in this area, this is originally where the livestock would come into the facility when it was operational. This was an area, and again, these are things that I've been told, but it makes sense when you look at it. And but I've had people that actually worked here tell me these things. So this is an area, it's hard to see, but there's a large chain and electric motor system back here. And what would happen is you take the pigs right here, they'd hook them to the one little hook you can see there, and there's a series of them. Yeah. They'd pull them up, take them over across to the left. They would cut the throats and drain them into a blood pit, and that's a blood bath up there.
Yeah,
where they would just drain them into.
Yeah, that hole
and then,
right there.
Yeah, and then they go out the other side and be processed in the next room over there.
Yeah. So that's just ugh, that's
yeah.
All the blood would collect.
So then, yeah, the series of pipes. They had pits in the back where they'd put the blood would go into, and then just have the trucks come in and pump that out at a later date. But I did everything in my power to try and get that thing operational the first year I was here, and it's just, unfortunately, it's so far gone. There was so much damage to it and rust that it was unable to make it operational. So, but one of these days when I make it big, I'll probably put the money into it and get it fixed. But right now, that ain't happening. So, but it's a beautiful piece. It's a shame that you can't see that or know anything about that particular piece because there's no way to get around it. It's all encased in wall and concrete and everything. Right. So after we just came out of the room where the pigs were pulled up onto that chain hoist, this is the blood pit for where the cattle and larger animals were. There's a large, it's hard to see it all, but there's a large what do you want to call it, a chain system and hoist and winch that raises them up and lowers them in. But this pit, it was about 5 feet deeper. So I filled it up with stone, put some concrete in it. So this was a lot deeper. And then there was pipes that exited it at a certain point. So the blood would go in here and then it would go into the back outside into the blood pit for the trucks to haul it away. But so this large room was a processing room at one time. So this is where I was told a lot of tables and racks and everything would be in here. And this is where they'd cut everything up. And then you had a series of freezers after that they'd put it into. So hanging a prop over it and letting it drip into it, is pretty much what we figured we'd do with this room. So
yeah,
but
this is crazy.
Massive room. Yeah.
Yeah, how much blood has flown through this trough.
You think about that,
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah. And then I got a couple more freezers over here that aren't being used. I got a couple rooms back here that still aren't being used. I mean, that's the boiler room right over there.
Okay.
One more.
Yeah. So yeah, right in there.
Yeah, so in and to the right. So it just kind of shows you the maze. We can sneak through
cool.
a lot of these rooms, But.
Oh yeah, and that's what's awesome. Yeah, the fact you had the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Get multiple scares.
So, and then I figured.
Yeah, where'd you get the school bus from?
Won it at an auction online. It was the greatest thing. I thought it was so cool. It was on the east side of Cleveland. I went online, got an auction, because I had to come up with an idea in here. Funny story talking to Michael, the owner of Ghost Ride. I called him up. I said, I need some more props. And do you have any children? He laughed. And he was like a kid at Christmas. He's like, dude, I got 7 kids. And nobody will buy them. I said, I want them.
Oh, God.
Got the school bus in here, kind of just played. This is such a massive room. It's
huge.
Didn't want to
break.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest room in the haunt. Didn't want to break it up. We had the blood pit, and then so we kind of turned it into like maybe a service garage feel here, where they worked on mechanic.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, mechanics and stuff. So got barely got it in. It was a process because of the sprinkler system in here. I could barely get it underneath, but I do own some equipment where we.
Oh, yeah,
Popped some tires and pulled it in here, so we got her in.
Jeez.
But and then the next room, if you show some film, is where the freezer where the kids are hanging. So
oh yeah,
had some moms not like it. I get it, but isn't that what Halloween's all about? The haunt season. We kind of touch on some things that are a little offensive and a little sensitive.
There might be some remnants of the children, like this book bag right here.
Yeah, we got little bits, again, little details you'll see. I got probably about 20 more book bags in little odd places.
Oh, yeah.
Our actor last year decided to go crazy with balloons and have a little party back here. So, yeah, again, that's what the haunt season, Halloween's all about. We're not trying to offend anybody. We're just touching on those sensitive issues that we fear.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
We kind of also filmed Vaughn in this room, but just another of this adorable little cow mascot in the event of atomic inhalation. He's a little thumbs up, and they even have like the little masks right under it where you put on. And then around this corner up here is what we were talking about earlier about one of the sensitive topics, which you can see why it might upset some people. But again, like Vaughn is saying, it's horror. It's not supposed to be gentle and nice. It's supposed to be something for everyone with, fears playing on that. Wow, this one's really, oh my God.
Oh, gosh.
Oof. Or that one over there. Well, the carvers don't discriminate on their victims. Let's just say that.
Let's just say that.
Another one of the pretty big, wide open scenes, one of the things he was telling us off camera is this wall over here, the one that has the saws on it, didn't used to be there, so it used to be even bigger. But then a lot of times you would see another group and you could see the scares happening, so they kind of did that for blocking. I do like, they kind of built these almost like little shanty houses. And one of the cool facts he was telling us is that a lot of the metal on the roofs was actually on the property, and he repurposed it as the roof. And the actors just really, they get really into it here, and you can see all these dents in the table from them banging on it and stuff like that. Oh my God.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
I feel like I remember an actor taking this out of this person. And yeah,
Yuck.
and just a box of limbs.
Yeah.
And over here we have more blood and guts. Of whatever's going on there. Someone that was split in half. And I love this, the baskets of meat, as he put it. They also have, oh, ew, I never noticed all this. Look at all these skinned animals. That's freaky. And now we're in Kim's favorite room. This is, what do they call that character?
The Windigo?
Yeah, I don't know if that's what he goes by, but that's what Kim calls him. He's, I forget, but he's like very eccentric. And more scroll on the wall. Of the sins shall I cleanse thee. I love the aesthetics of this room, just like all the skulls and furs.
Yeah.
And you can see this awful bed where he presumably sleeps. Again, just detail after detail. Oh my God. I did not notice this. So, whoa, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
So this is the person, and that's their skin. Wow. Holy, I have not noticed this before. That is so gross and awesome. That they just, it's like, because again, this guy is like the artist, right? So he's very artistic and the weird shit that he does. And I would say that's pretty. Oh, look, she has a little meat headdress on.
Oh, lovely.
Wow, this scene's just so. Whoa, that's creepy. I don't know why that just creeped me out. This like
Oh.
mannequin's eye that's poking out. And that's freaky. It's like she's like looking at you.
It is.
Oh, it's so awesome.
Wow. There's so much detail in this room I never noticed
There's
before.
so much, yeah, and like whatever's going on with this.
Wow.
Oh, wow, yeah, another thing that's been skinned.
Oh.
It's like it's a deer,
deer.
and it's, oh, gross, man. That is gnarly.
See, this is stuff that you don't see when you're going through the haunt, that
Right.
little details that they put into stuff. It's
And
just-
again, as we've said multiple times, this is not going to give you a true experience of what it's like walking through this place. The actors and the lighting and the sound effects, just chef's kiss. Again, the purpose of this is to show you behind the scenes. And this place is a world-class haunt. I haven't seen it on many things. And as far as I know, no one else has really filmed here before. So like we are very honored to be able to actually film in this place
Yes.
and show this to you.
So we're back in the back corner of the building. As you can see, another room with tile on the wall. It was a freezer at one time, but I've had paranormal companies come in here and do some investigating, you know, just for fun. I wanted to be a part of it myself, but this is considered, this and the next three rooms is the hottest area, for terminology's sake, I guess, for paranormal, for when they did the investigation. Now, I didn't even tell them what happened here. And they found these, two different companies found these rooms to be the most active rooms. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue through here and go into, this was a freezer at one time. For construction purposes, I had to break through this massive wall in order to get to this next side. So this was the old lunch break room. We had a bathroom here. There's a couple just out the other side, but this, we built all this as you see right now, but it was the lunch break room. When the building was built in 1939 by two owners, two gentlemen, one of the owners was killed in this room. It's documented. The only thing is they never found out what happened. So story is by one of the kids of the next owner, she's come down here, an older lady, and told me all these stories. She says this absolutely happened. They believe it was a wife's who was having an affair, and it was her boyfriend that came in and killed the husband at work late one night. So it happened in this room. She confirmed the story. I had a couple other people tell me the same thing. But this is the hottest room. I was told the name of the fellow was Ed. And we've been back here and I've watched the paranormal TV screens while they were doing it. We were up in another room and they had all this laser lights and everything show up, and you could actually see movement in here.
Oh,
there
wow.
was movement through the grid system. So there's 2 rooms up. We turned it into an office. It was kind of an old office back in the day, but we made it more of an office lunch break room area. But there was an actual face and chest moving come out of the closet down towards this hallway. So I get a little chills thinking about it because it's really, really cool. You know, I mean, I've been in here. I've had friends that are retired Marines that worked for me for a little bit in here. Every single one would come out and say, I'm telling you, someone's looking at me. Someone's watching me.
Yeah.
My hair in the back of my neck is standing up. I'm looking back. And it is. You feel it. If you come in here down by yourself and hang out. Yeah.
And this was themed to the break room. But even down to like the playing cards they use and stuff like that. People that were playing checkers over there. Even look how like distressed and gross these windows are. Just everything is just, ugh, bucket of meat. Even like this distressed trash can they added. Please help keep this area clean. Pick up and pitch in. Well, I think it needs a little more help than that. This is another kind of sensitive scene.
And I just noticed that this and the last room we were in are the only rooms that have carpet.
Yeah, which it makes sense because this is the office scene and like the office manager, if you will, without, getting the video demonetized. He takes an oof. And it is very similar to the opening of Haunted Hoochie, if you know what I mean. So again, that's why people this scene can upset them a little bit. But again, it's horror. That's what horror does. Yeah, and then up here, God always finds a way. Just like even the picture of like the kids on the wall, like it all paints a story. And again, you're not in here long enough to understand that story typically, but looking at the bottles of alcohol, all of these ripped pages and stuff. And just, yeah, you just go through and find all these details. And again, these were for the most part empty rooms, and they added all of this. And it's just amazing that it really feels like you're just walking into an abandoned building that a crazy family's moved into. I mean, of course, the story, I think, goes that they've always been there and they kind of went crazy. But still, that's what it feels like, though. We were kind of talking about it looks like no work was done at all, and that's a great thing because it looks like this place just exists and that it's not just an attraction.
So we're in the office room. So when I first bought the place, they didn't really leave much behind, but they left a lot of boxes up in one of the storage areas, and it turns out it ended up being a lot of the original accounting from the facility when it was opening. So it was called Chippewa Meats back in the day, and then here's one from 1951, and it's actually somebody's handwriting. It's placing an order for food, and it's the whole paper. So we have it all the way back to we've got it dated back to as early as 1944. This is 51. Here's a piece for 59. So we took some of the original accounting and just kind of scattered it through the room. So again, it's the details, unfortunately, you don't see when you are in these rooms for only a couple seconds for the most part. When it comes to building, haunted houses is one thing I didn't care for, but I know it was a necessity now that I own a haunted house or two, is a lot of people don't like the black mazes. And I'm like, I get it, but you have to add time to the haunt and make make it worth what you're charging for admission. But I tried to do something different with that, and I thought, okay, if instead of doing black walls and I'm going to do this in some type of shipping and receiving maze. So what I did is built a ton of boxes, and the joke in the industry is pallets and barrels. So just incorporated a lot of those as props to create the maze. So to create that time, but you're still at the same time you're in here and you're looking at, there's places to pop out. There's a lot of props to look at. You're getting more than just a black wall to walk through. So, this is probably a 6-minute walk, through this part, but we have actors obviously jumping at certain places here and there.
I always got really good in this section. It's something I actually want to ask because, like, like these pallet mazes purposefully look kind of unsafe.
Correct.
So like, how do you make something look unsafe but actually be safe?
Obviously, it comes in, it's more of a structure. Every single pallet's screwed together, and then we're spraying these things down, with water and fire retardant. Right before the season gets opened up, this will get a coat on it. So yeah, everything's just screwed together. That's all you can do. To build a frame and to put everything in, in would look, it wouldn't look as authentic.
Right.
But just to make it, there was a couple scenes back by the bus where there's a beam that I snapped out of the ceiling, took it down, crushed some barrels. It's all welded together, bolted together, and it's just to create one little area that you walk under. So it's a lot of work, a lot of time goes into something like this, but always the safety first. That's just, any hunt owner will tell you that. It's,
Kim just absolutely loves the piggy. I mean, as you can see, she's rocking the shirt there. They have a lot of really cool merch that they sell at the little gift shop at the end. Definitely check that out when you come.
How could you not appreciate a sausage with a bite taken out of his butt?
Yeah, it's great. And like, he's just so happy. And just
He's
like the
so
cow.
happy.
I kind of want that cow on a shirt too. I wonder if they'll ever do that.
Yeah, the cow's cute.
But even like this detail, and we were talking about how you make things look unsafe, but actually are, like this light that has come crashing down through this box. And a cool thing that he again told us off camera was this desk here. He actually took, I think, well, not this forklift, because this one I don't think actually runs, but he had I think he said it was a forklift, right?
It was some sort of yeah.
Yeah, and he just kept driving it into this to basically break this hole into this counter. So, just to add to that realistic feel, and then had to, of course, beat the crap out of the barrel just to add that detail of it being crashed in there, that this forklift lost control and crashed into it. And even the back of this van here, they have the logo on. This would have been like I'm assuming like the meat delivery van, because of this whole section is kind of like shipping and packaging kind of thing. You see all the boxes wrapped in plastic with all the little logos, all of the meat that's about to get shipped out. And this is the garage. The whole story behind this is basically this is the cars of the people that the family has taken. Usually, there's a couple chainsaw crazies in here. I guess it will be different this year. But they were always very aggressive. I mean, you can still see there's like chainsaws laying around a lot of places. And again, like these like buildings that they've built. He was just talking about the troubles of having to get all of the cars in here and stuff, because again, none of these run. So he had to, haul them all here and then adjust them in just a way to make a maze out of it. And then the one that's really interesting is that one right over there, basically putting up this wall and then beating a hole into it so this car could go through it, which you can also see from the other end. The other side is basically a bunch of like barrels you have to walk through, which is super like nerve-wracking and stuff, because again, actors can beat on them and be super loud. But like the fact that I went to the detail of this tow truck and just this car just slamming through the wall. And then you come to the outside portion, and these things will be a hopefully fun little surprising new addition this year. We're not going to talk more on that, but that'll be a fun thing. And this is probably, I would say, like the newest section of the haunt is all the outside stuff. Because
Yeah.
it used to just kind of be a straight walk, but they wanted a cooler ending, and they have some really cool stuff you're going to see in this outside portion.
I think as a haunt owner, the greatest thing you can do is be driving down the road and see somebody getting rid of something that in their mind is garbage, but in your mind it's treasure. The old saying, one man's garbage, another man's treasure. So in Medina, which I grew up in the area, there was what was called the Farmers Exchange. It was a place to go get your animal feed, and livestock products and such. And they turned it into an apartment complex, but these grain silos, there's a number of them on the property, they were getting ready to dispose of them. They had just torn everything down. These were sitting in the parking lot. So I was in my construction truck, trailer, and piece of equipment. I pulled in there. I was like, what are you doing with these? And we're getting rid of them. They're going to the scrap yard. So I said, I will give you scrap price for them. I gave them a couple $100 a piece. And I spent the whole weekend loading them up myself from there and bringing them down here and putting them up. This one they were getting ready to put in, and he's like, you want me to get rid of that? I said, absolutely not. So it looked like that when I bought it. So I thought,
Just smashed.
Yeah, so I figured it'd be cool to just put it here, make it look like it got hit by a tree, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So that, and then again took the barrels and smashed them with my machine and tried to make everything look like it, you know, it actually happened. So, but it's great to come across, you know, something this big and so unique. And you're lucky to only pay a few bucks for it, because, you know, to do something like this from scratch is super expensive.
So this is one of the shipping containers. I'm going to tell a fun little story as you walk through here. So they have all of this stuff, and again, it's, well, you can see how dark it is in the day. It's obviously even darker at night. But at the end here, and they have lights and stuff when it's actually on to signify, hey, you need to duck down. I don't know what, but the last time I was walking through, I think I was looking at an actor or something, and I walked straight into this wall. So don't be stupid like me and just duck. So yeah, so here we start some foreshadowing of something you're going to see here in a little bit. There's a suitcase and a seat. Well, that's a seat from a car, probably from one of the many victims' cars that are from the garage. And again, more of the freaky deaky mannequins. It's also cool because a lot of these fire pits are going, so it gives this ambiance, because he didn't want to use like haunted house lighting, so most of the lighting out here is like more natural light, like real candles, fake candles, fire pits, that kind of thing. These are actual, what do you call them? They're not caskets.
Burial vaults?
Yeah.
Like the thing they put the caskets in when they bury you.
See, these are real. They actually have, well, it's not his real last name, but the owner's real first name, Vaughn, and then of course they have Carver on there.
In the heart of Chippewa.
Oh yeah. But just again, another little like minute detail. Well, for one, he hand welded all of these fences himself, and like he said, he's not a welder, so he was very proud of the fact that he did all of this by hand. Even have the gates with the Carver family emblem. But I mean, even like the detail of where you enter, the fence was kind of busted and bented in, and then when you leave, kind of the same thing, and they have it over there, so it kind of looks almost like the trees like overgrew and like kind of broke it. Just an example of the sight lines of these mannequins, and you can just imagine at night. I mean, look at that. That's freaky. Like, you see that from a distance, and you have no idea if that's a person or not. And again, when the place is running, sometimes it is. And it's just so nerve-wracking that these things are everywhere. And then again, you have another shipping container, basically just like body bags, but this isn't always a good scare as well, because you can never see the person that's in there because it's so dark. And with these shipping containers, they usually have like a stick or something they can hit on the walls, and it's so loud, and if you don't scream, you're lying. And then a cool thing is, another example of foreshadowing, as you come around the corner of that storage container, you're like, what's this? What am I under? And you walk more on the path here, and you realize it's a ripped off airplane wing. Also really cool that you can actually see inside the jet engine, right? That's what that would be, right? Is the
I think so, yeah.
like the part jet engine, yeah. This is a scene that it sounds like they're theming out just a little bit more this year. It's like the little campground scene. And this is usually, again, a pretty intense scene because you're kind of forced between these two campers, and there's usually a guy with a chainsaw here that's going to come get you. Again, can't stress enough, you should get the touch pass. You can always take it off if it's too much, but I really think if you're going to do it someplace, this place does it. This place and Blood Prison both probably do it better than any other place that we've done the touch experiences at.
Yes.
I think this place does it about as perfect as you can. Okay, and as we go in here, this is kind of like a little like cult worshiping sort of church scene. There's usually these cool like candles that flicker up there. And again, you never know which one's going to be real, but I love the aesthetics of them. Very like midsummer kind of something like that vibes. Like, what do you call that? Like pagan horror?
Yeah.
But this was the thing that we didn't notice before. So it says, a gift from above. And if you look, he's actually the pilot of an airplane. And again, if you were paying attention, we've been seeing luggage that you would have on an airplane. We saw the airplane wing. And then as we walk out here, again, a ton of freaky like mannequins with bags on their heads, and usually again a fire pit. But here, up here we have, well, this was airplane stewardess. Do you remember what the other one was? Was it just a passenger?
I think it's just a passenger.
Yeah. And you're kind of like, what's that about? All right, I'm just going to kind of film this part. It kind of does better as the reveal. He's very good with sight lines. A lot of these, and this is something they do in the parking lot as well, these like mounds of dirt, and they've built these, most of them I believe at least, if not all, to block out what's behind there. But you can see a bit of an airplane wing there. Yeah, and then you walk around to see this giant crashed airplane that you get to actually walk through. And again, I think he mentioned by tying in the chemical waste that we saw way earlier in the haunt. Again, it all ties together. They're telling a story. Which a lot of haunts tell a story, but I don't think in this detail, though. Not so painstakingly. You can see all the suitcases that are on the ground.
All right, so it was towards the end of the haunt, obviously trying to stick with the theme. I think to myself, what are we doing with a plane on the property? That's really not much to do with the slaughterhouse. But this plane has a lot of history. It's funny, it was found up in Lorain County. A gentleman was trying to do a bed and breakfast property with this and a train and a couple other items. Couldn't get it to go through, so he decided to put it up for sale. Turns out this plane belonged to, if anybody watches the Netflix special called Wild Wild Country. It's a it's a series of 5 shows. But back in 1981-86, there was the Indian love guru, the Bhagwan Rajneesh, was building that compound up in Oregon. And he had a massive amount of followers. It was like an 80,000 acre compound. He tried poisoning the town because they wouldn't allow him to do everything he wanted to do on his compound. So they tried to kind of force their way into the town, and they did a lot of poisoning, I guess, with the foods and some of the restaurants. But this was his plane. So this is a documented plane. It was his plane. It's in the movie. The tail numbers are still the same, and that's the story that the fella told us when I bought the plane. So getting something like this into place was pretty interesting. Very lucky with my construction background to be able to lift this up, and a buddy of mine had a trucking company, and he used a bunch of his trucks and helped me move it into place. So yeah, the nice thing too is this is one of those scenes where it isn't just visually beautiful, you get to go in it. So you get to walk through this thing and enjoy it. So I integrated this with the hazmat material, which you also see in one of the scenes in the building. And we tried to bring that together as the meat being tainted and poisoned, that the carvers were trying to poison the people in the area. So, but yeah, this is pretty much towards the end. He's got on the way out the merch, and then this takes you. You don't even see any of the customers coming in. This takes you right back out to the parking lot, and then on your way out. So
now it's time to go into the aircraft. Also, I shall mention, walking through this thing, freaky. Again, this is not a prop, as he mentioned. This is a real airplane they acquired. And of course, there's like fog and flickering. Ugh, oh my God, that always scares me. The floor is metal and it pops when you step on it. It's just kind of a natural jump scare for you. But yeah, walking through here just gives you such anxiety. It feels like the plane's just going to fall apart any moment. It's so crazy. It's such a cool, pretty much finale to the haunt. You can see this was the cockpit with all the wires exposed. It's just absolutely insane. But yeah, then you come full circle. So out there's the parking lot where you will then get in your car and leave. But then right here is the merch booth where you can buy some of their really cool merchandise. And again, I genuinely mean that their merchandise is cool. I mean, just look how cool Kim's shirt is. And they have a bunch of other stuff they sell too. They usually have stickers. I think sometimes they have hats and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Lanyards. Pretty much a little of everything they have here.
Yes, I really like the merchandise. So make sure you stop by and check that out before you leave. According to keep going.
Okay, so here in the entrance, great story. I was driving through Chippewa Lake town, which is very small, a few buildings over here, a mile away, and saw this truck for sale and thought, oh, it's kind of dated, kind of goes with the time frame of the theme of Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse. I'll stop, take a look at it, see if what they're asking for it. So started talking to the gentleman, and in the conversation I mentioned to him that I own Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse, and he's like, oh, so you're the one that owns that and built it. He goes, well, I got a great story for you. He goes, this truck is actually the truck that the second owner's son owned. So this was actually owned by somebody that was an owner here at the slaughterhouse when it was Chippewa Meats. Can't ask for a better story than that, I thought. So of course that's why I sold. I had to buy it on the spot. So now it's back at its original home, and put it up here as a showpiece with the trailer. And so a lot of people do take pictures with it to get the the start of the haunt. So just a cool little story to add to the whole Chippewa Lake Slaughterhouse. So.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the bittersweet end of this video, because if you've been watching in chronological order, this is the last of the season. We might do it again if this series does well. It was an undertaking. Yes. I will say that. And we'll have a whole video kind of talking about this. So you can go watch that as well. But yeah, I'm glad we ended on this one, because again, this has been one of our favorites for a year, and a place that we've been wanting to do a lights on tour, something like that, just for a while. Oh yeah. So it's really awesome to get to go do it. And again, just the level of detail that you've now seen at this point, like what you were talking about with the world building, is like all these logos and stuff they've made.
Crazy.
Just the amount of work that goes into just the extra detailing. And again, most haunts are detailed, but the ittiest bittiest of details is what really gets me. It's like they didn't need to make their own logos for all this stuff. They could have been way more generic for it, and most people wouldn't know. But that's the kind of thing that just shows, like those little things that show how much passion, because it's like, no, nothing less than perfection is good enough.
Yeah, like down to like the safety posters up on the walls. Yep. I mean, it's amazing how much like little things just make it just that much better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. And I'm excited for things that they have planned in the future and stuff like that. Like I said, Nightmare Cleveland is also awesome, and they're starting doing their like laser tag event. That is really cool. But yeah, I mean, you saw the video. Make sure you check them out this season. I think both are. I think they said, yeah, they're opening up on Friday the 13th. Yep. Yeah, so you get extra time to check them out as well. And again, I think we mentioned in the video, but they are both places, including Chippewa, though, are time ticketing only. So you can't walk up and buy a ticket. So don't show up thinking you can just walk in. You have to get a ticket online in advance to reserve your time slot. And they do that to crowd control, and so everyone can have a better experience. Yes. So you're not going to be conga lined. But yeah. What did you think of it? What did you thought of the series if you watched it all the way through? If you haven't watched it all the way through, you get to go back and watch those. The other 5. But yeah, have you been to Chippewa before? Did this video make you want to go there and experience it for yourself? Just let us know your thoughts. Are you going to do the touch pass? I don't know. But yeah, this series might be over. But again, we're now going to be in haunt season. Oh, this is probably coming out right around when reviews are starting to come out, or maybe a few have been. So there's going to be a lot more reviews coming from that. We plan on trying to do some giveaways and stuff like that for the haunt review season. And again, let us know if you want us to make another series in the future years or something. Go do more behind the scenes stuff like this. Because if no one wants to watch it, let us know. Share it. Tell other people about it, It also helps the haunts out as well, which is one of the main reasons we did this series. And that's why we picked ones that, while they're big, really good haunts, their name isn't out there at least as much as we think it should. Right. But, yeah. But again, thank you very much for watching, and make sure you're liking and subscribing so you don't miss any of these upcoming videos. And, of course, the biggest thing that helps with that is ringing that notification bell. Alrighty. And we will see you in the next video.
Bye bye.